Today we're going to take a look at the Dynasty trade market to pinpoint the value of 3 running backs, see whether we want to buy, sell, or trade them. And by doing this, we're going to look at trades, calculators, to look at and identify the psychology, the thought process of other Dynasty gamers to help you guys make your own moves in your own Dynasty leagues. This is something you're into. Tap that subscribe button right now. Just give her a quick little flick there because I'm only going to help you out building your Dynasty teams, getting you ready for rookie drafts, helping you set lineups in season. But the first running back we're going to be talking about today is a veteran who we haven't really seen blow up yet in the league, but a lot of people have been talking about off and on throughout his career because he has shown the ability to do some things on the field. We're talking about J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. RB15 in ADP, 49th overall. He's 24 years old. He will be a free agent at the end of the season. Last year he had 2 RB1 weeks, 1 RB2 week. The knee injury really impacted his 2022 season, really stunted his ability to really show off what he can do. Depth chart here in Baltimore: Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell. So we got some guys here that can do some things as well. But really, we're watching J.K. Dobbins. We're seeing if he can hit that upside. The trade analyzer, which is the calculator over at dynastyleaguefootball.com, has him valued at like a mid-first, about the 106, 105 range. In 2QB, about the 108 range, 108-ish if you want to say. But what we like to look at is the real trades. The trades that already happened, that's on their trade finder. Going to these trades, a 2024 second and third was a deal that was done. A 107, a 2024 second, and Malik Davis. A 2024 first, a 2025 second was a deal. Another one was Jared Goff in 2QB. We saw one with DJ Moore. We saw one with Chris Godwin. 2024 first, Christian Watson straight up, TJ Hawkinson, and a 108. He seems like a very liquid asset right now in the market because we're seeing a lot of trades in the app compared to other running backs in this price range, because we go over this every week. We're going down ADP one by one, and compared to the other running backs, we're seeing more one-for-one trades. We're seeing more multiplayer trades on this video. In this series, we go over the one-for-one trades because we don't want to spend an hour going over the context of each deal. It's simpler to just say, hey, you went for this guy, this pick, this pick, this pick. Here, we're seeing him dealt more. We're seeing him dealt more often. The values are more diverse. You're seeing him caught for deals. You're seeing him overpriced. You're seeing everything here. 2024 first straight up, 2024 first and a second, 107 and a second. To identify the psychology of the market here, one thing you can say is looking like a hot potato right now. One, we haven't had that hit range of production out of him. We haven't had him skyrocket yet in value. And now we're approaching the start of the season where people are trying to get their ducks in a row for the start of the season. So they're trying to figure out whether they should buy him or trade him. And they're moving their assets around, getting ready for the season. Depending on the value of your league, he's a buy and he's a sell. Just gauging these deals, gauging what's going on here. He looks like he could be either way. This is a very, very ambiguous draft class that we had this year. The values are not as great compared to previous seasons. So getting running backs like this is something some people are leaning into and some people are leaning out of as well. So he's a running back that a lot of people like. I expect his price to increase throughout the offseason the quicker or the closer we get to the start of the year. Now we're left waiting for training camp, waiting for the start of the season, see how he's going to perform. But up until then, I see the market just starting to gain steam, adding more value to him. We're seeing a lot of redraft and best ball content creators start talking him up as a value, as a good later round guy, mid-round guy to get in those drafts. With that being said, with the potential value, potential upside, and with him having a full season in this offense, when you're just looking and projecting outward, you're going to see people start to value him more. I think that's starting the liquidity here with J.K. Dobbins. I think he's a player that you can buy or sell right now because the market's all over the place. I think selling is probably going to be harder than what you think because I think a lot of people are going to try and get low on him considering the value of last season and last few years due to the injury. Also, you got to think we're going into next year where he's a potential free agent. That's something you got to think about. That could be good and bad for him, but the prospect of that could be also a good thing depending on what your manager thinks. Really, like always, in these situations, you want to kick the tires. I do see the value increasing as we get into August, as we get to the start of the season, as people start projecting him. I see him tricking up in the ADP. I see these trades get a little bit more juicier as we get later in the summer. I look for his value to go up, but I also see people getting hot with him on the market, playing hot potato with him due to a lot of other content creators talking him up for redraft, best ball, and everything else. So people are starting to look at him, and that's going to make him more fluid on the market. And with him being more fluid on the market, you're going to see more trades. You're going to see a lot of different values here and there. I think in your average league or in most leagues, he's going to hold his value pretty well, and you're going to have to pay up a tiny bit, more like towards what the calculator is saying here, mid-first range. Like, I'm not going to give him away because I'm looking at this depth chart of the Ravens. I know he had some good games at the end of the season against Pittsburgh and Cleveland, 2 against Pittsburgh, 1 against Cleveland, finish off the year. Good rushing production there. Really showed us that he's coming back into stride, and maybe that can give me a good optimistic outlook going into this year. So I look for him to be a hold for a lot of people as well. So that's something you want to look at in the market here, but also a guy you want to kick tires on because a lot of trades are coming back as discounts as well. So that's something you want to think about. Now we're leaping to our next running back, and this running back's in the same situation where we're going to see his value increase throughout the summer due to the redraft content creators talking him up as a value, looking at his projected outlook going into the season. That's Antonio Gibson of the Washington Commanders. Right now he's being valued as RB40, 120th overall. Turns 25 in June. 2 years ago, his ADP was in the top 15. It has decreased since then, naturally. 2 RB1 weeks, 5 RB2 weeks last season, and he averaged 3.9 targets per game with a high of 9 targets in 2 games with over 5 targets, but also had a 12% target share. He was 12th in the league among running backs in targets last season, sharing the backfield with Brian Robinson. J.D. McKissic's gone, leaving 40 targets and a 14% target share. So this is going to allow him to do more work in the passing offense. Per Peter Howard, he's going to get all those targets. All of them are going to go to Antonio Gibson. Just send him a tweet and ask him. He'll let you know. Dynasty Trade Analyzer, the calculator, in 1 QB has him valued in the 208 range, 2 QB, 210 range, so about the same. Late second round rookie pickish. Let me know in the comment section, is that what you're willing to pay, or do you feel like that's a little light? I'm thinking about that off the cuff. I have different feelings coming through. But looking at the trade finder here, real trades that's happened in real leagues on my fantasy league. Gus Edwards in a 2024 second. Chuba Hubbard 305. Zonovan Knight in 203. Straight up for Dalton Schultz. Straight up for Zay Jones. Straight up for Tyler Boyd. Straight up for Rashad White even. So his value is kind of all over the place, and that's kind of what I was expecting. Averaging about a mid-second, maybe a mid-second and some change, and that change is rather light. Lack of liquidity here, I'm guessing, because you're seeing what you have in him, and you're wanting to hold going into the season. On the other hand here, you could sell him knowing that his value is going up in the offseason because people are going to be looking at his projected workload, the increase of targets, his burst, size-adjusted athleticism, and you might be able to sneak away with a good deal. So mid-second's looking like our baseline right now. So we want to try and shoot ahead of that. We want to maybe go for an early second, late first. We want to catch that bag. We don't want to break even. So if you're trying to sell, try and be greedy. Try and be greedy on him to get a little extra. That's what I'm looking like on the value. That's probably not going to happen most of the time, but it has happened for some people, as you can see. Some people's not going to be you a lot of times, so think about it that way and what you want to do. Ultimately, you're moving back towards a mid-second if you're negotiating a deal. Mid-second and some change seems like what's getting deals done because you know what? You want a little bit extra with that. Buying him, he seems to be pretty liquid. He seems like a guy that in some deals you're able to get done if you want to move some picks around. Rebuilding teams need to be leery, but yet optimistic because he's a running back that could go to a new situation and be productive due to his ability to catch the ball in the backfield, size, adjusted athleticism. That's a running back that a lot of teams like. That is good for fantasy. He's just 25 years old, so going into next year, he'll be 26. So we got a couple more years left. This could be a running back that could still hold you value over time. So if you need to speculate on somebody on the cheap, you don't like what you got out of your rookie draft, you don't like some of the wide receivers, or you got a running back you want to deal and you want to package some picks together or something, maybe somebody you want to look for. A lot of people are talking them up right now. I expect the price to go up. So if you're going to get in now. And I think his value is going to go up until he gets some slow games or whatever. I think his value is going to increase because we're hearing a lot of people start chirping him up. We're catching a lot of content creators chirp up this running back as well on the videos, on the podcast. He's a backup, but he's in a good situation. The roster opened up for him, and looking like right now could be a good sign that he could get some opportunity later in the year, especially if attrition hits, and that's Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns. RB55 right now, 167 overall, just 23 years old. He was the Browns' 5th-round pick in 2022, 84th percentile speed score, over 1,300 yards and 20 touchdowns in his final years with the Cincinnati Bearcats. Kareem Hunt is gone, so he is the guy projected behind Nick Chubb this year, so we're expecting an increase in opportunities for him. Going to the trade analyzer to look at his value here, mid-4th-round rookie pick in all formats. In the trade finder, looking at some real trades off MFL, 306 straight up, 404 straight up, 310 straight up, then straight up for Michael Gallup, straight up for Zach Ertz, straight up for 312, 2024 4th. So in line kinda with the calculator, but you will catch deals where it goes for a little more, and that could be subjective for what you want and where you're at and what you got, depending how bad you want him. All in all, like I say with all these guys in the end of these videos, what do you want to spend your cheap capital on? Your lesser picks, your lesser players, how you want to wheel them around. He's a player that's in a good situation where if attrition hits, could be in line to get a couple games with a good workload. And that could allow you to have some production. He's also a player that could spike in value. And if you spike some value, you may want to think about dealing him since he's a late round pick and they can move on from him. You may want to do something like that. Ultimately, his value, again, we're looking for it to increase throughout the offseason as people start looking more at depth charts. Getting in line for redraft, getting more best ball teams together, all that stuff. Redraft has an impact on the market, and it impacts these players who are kind of forgotten about, but you look back at them and their workload and their potential and all that stuff, they trick up a little bit in value, and you'll start seeing that in the next couple weeks and months as we get closer to training camp, as we get deeper into the preseason. That's something you're going to see. For a lot of people, he's probably going to be a hold. A lot of people are going to hold because they know Nick Chubb is the lead guy there, gets a lot of workload. Running backs get a lot of workload, get a lot of opportunities. A lot of opportunities means that you could be impacted by an injury. That could happen. This is a team you want a running back off of. But those are 3 running backs that we're looking at this week. We're identifying the markers on the trade market, trying to get into the psychology of those dynasty owners, trying to see where we can find the trend lines where we can get in and make some deals, get some values. Buy guys on the low, sell guys on the high, see where guys can get more expensive. Can we buy them now or should we buy them later? Should we sell them now? Should we sell them later? Identify when's the right time to do our thing. Let me know in the comments below what players you're trying to trade or what trades you have made. I want to hear about those. Make sure you smash that subscribe button on the way out. And I want to thank you for watching.